Before the cities, before the languages, before we knew what we were, there was survival. There was fear. There was curiosity. The story of human life didn't begin in a classroom or inside books. It began in the savannas of Africa, under the scorching sun, where strange, upright creatures began walking on two legs. This isn't just the story of evolution, it's the story of how you came to be. In this episode, we're going back 3 million years to uncover what life was like before we even knew what human meant. Get ready to meet our ancestors, not kings or queens, but survivors, warriors of the wild. This is before we became human. Chapter 1. The land we were born in. Imagine Africa. Not the Africa you see today, but a land more untamed, more violent, more alive. There were no roads, no borders, just land, water, predators, and prey. This is where our story begins, in East Africa's Great Rift Valley. Here, volcanic activity shaped the land, while tectonic shifts formed mountains and lakes. These changes in terrain forced species to adapt or vanish, and deep in this wilderness a new species began to walk upright, Australopithecus afarensis, our earliest known ancestor. They weren't fully human, not yet, but they were learning. Slowly, painfully, they were evolving. Chapter 2. The birth of awareness. Have you ever wondered when the first creature realized it existed? That first flicker of self-awareness didn't happen in a flash. It was gradual but profound. Australopithecus began walking on two legs, freeing up their hands. Not just for movement, but for interaction. They started using sticks, stones, and bones not as toys, but as tools, weapons, extensions of themselves. And with every tool they shaped, their brain shaped them in return. Evolution isn't just about survival of the fittest, it's about survival of the smartest. These creatures began recognizing danger, understanding patterns, passing down memory. The first spark of what we now call consciousness was born. Chapter 3. Fire, Family, and Fear. Fire didn't come immediately, but before it did, there was warmth not from flame, but from family. Early humans, for the first time, began forming tribes, not just groups for safety, but emotional bonds. They mourned the dead, protected the weak, played with their young. The first echoes of what we now call love began to emerge, but they were never safe. Leopards stalked the trees. Saber-toothed cats watched from the shadows. Crocodiles waited by watering holes. Fear was constant. But fear shaped them. It taught them cooperation. It taught them silence. It taught them that the only way to survive was together. Chapter 4. The tools that changed everything. Then came the tools. At first, crude rocks, then sharpened edges, then spears, then strategy. With each advancement, our ancestors didn't just react to nature, they began to control it. Homo habilis, emerging from the shadows of Australopithecus, became the handyman. He made tools with intention, hunted in packs, shared food, buried the dead, and every time a child saw a tool used and mimicked it, a form of teaching was born. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were beginning to build. Chapter 5. The first explorers. Then something incredible happened. Our ancestors began to move, not just from one tree to another, but across continents, from Africa to the Middle East, then into Europe, then into Asia. They crossed rivers, climbed mountains, faced ice and snow. They didn't have maps, they didn't have compasses, but they had curiosity. They had the hunger to see what lay beyond the next hill. These were the first human travelers, the first wanderers, the first souls who looked up at the stars and wondered what else was out there. Chapter 6. Before we became human. The species you are today. Homo sapiens wasn't even born yet, but everything that would make you human was being written into your blood. The fear of isolation, the joy of connection, the hunger to create, the longing to understand. They all started with creatures that lived in mud huts, slept under stars, and ran barefoot through the wild. They didn't have gods or names or flags, but they were the beginning of everything. Every step they took brought us one step closer to ourselves. So the next time you feel lost, the next time you question your place in the world, remember this: you are the result of millions of years of survival, pain, love, fear, and discovery. You are not just a person in the present. You are a walking story, a moving monument to everything that ever lived and everything that refused to die. This is the journey we began together long before we were human. And this was just the beginning.